I'm Bob Trask. Today we're going to talk about renewal, spiritual renewal. That's kind of an interesting thought. The Christians go through a process they call being born again. And kind of that's what I'm talking about, is being born again, being renewed, coming out of that darkness that's inside of us into the light. And we all have some darkness in there, because we were taught by our society and are continually being taught by our society and by our governments and by our ministers and priests and by our parents and grandparents, probably, that there's something wrong with us. Like, you're just really great and I love you to pieces, but could you just please, whatever the hell that is? And maybe it's a behavior. Would you please tie your shoes, or would you please comb your hair? Maybe it's a behavior, but locked into that behavioral change is that there's something wrong with you. Otherwise, you would have already done that. What do you like? What they're saying is, what are you going to do? Walk around like looking like a complete idiot with your shoelaces hanging out? Or will you please do something with your hair? You look like a scarecrow. But there's always a little accusation in underneath that you're not quite all right. Like the boss comes to you and says, Clancy or Janet, this isn't working out real well. Are you here? Are you really focused on what you're doing? So right there's these accusations just underneath that you're not quite all right. And we accumulate that over our lifetime. We accumulate that attitude, that idea that there's something not right with us. And I want to call that the dead zone, because there's no spirit alive in that zone. It's a dead zone. There's nothing going on there. And what I'm asking you to do today is to rise out of that, be reborn, be renewed, be come out of that, and be reset as you really are. Not as somebody wants you to be, not as I want you to be, not even as you want you to be, but as you really are. Who are you? What are you really? Because I swear to God, most of us don't know. We just don't know. Why don't we know? Well, we don't know because we've believed a lot of things about ourselves. And belief and truth are not the same thing. Belief and truth are not the same thing. We can believe something to death, but it still doesn't make it true. And we are guided through life by beliefs. Our beliefs accumulate inside of our subconscious mind. They accumulate and they become truth for us. They're just beliefs, but they become our truths. Like, I believe in a certain political party. I believe in a certain religion. I believe that math is like this. I believe that my house is like this. I believe that my spouse is like this. It just goes on and on. All those are beliefs, and none of them are true. There's a reality underneath all of that. A reality. Something's really going on. But I'm not looking at what's really going on. I'm looking over here instead at what I believe is going on. And what's going on then escapes me. It goes on without me there. Well, as I'm giving you this talk, it's springtime. It's springtime in the Pacific Northwest. It's a time of renewal. Golly, the flowers, the tulips, we got tulips in this area. The tulips are just singing out of the ground. And I lived in the Bay Area in San Francisco for a while. And if you drove up north at this time of the year, that you'd see the poppies, wild poppies, just golden against the green grass. Mm. There's a there's a feeling in the air. I hope you feel it. There's a feeling in the air. It's not imaginary, it's real. It's real. Something's going on. Something's going on. I remember when I was living in San Francisco, and I was a singer, and I was focused every day in my little cubicle apartment focusing every day on singing, on doing my voice exercises, and on my articulation and certain words and how to, and just work, constantly working on that because my focus was on my singing and on being a really great professional singer. And during that time, I just was in my apartment or in the city or in my apartment or in the city. And a guy who lived nearby said, "I'm going to drive up to Muir Woods today. Come on and go with me." And I thought, what what's Muir Woods? And he said, no, you'll enjoy it. This will be good for you. He gave me a gift that I never forgot. We drove up to Muir, and now let me just pull away for a minute and tell you that in my earlier life, before I went to San Francisco, became a singer, I lived a lot in the forest, in the high mountains of New Mexico, and out on the plains and the deserts. I was just a wilderness kind of guy. Now I had been months, or maybe I don't remember, maybe a couple of years, just ensconced in this like little self-imposed prison. So we went to Muir Woods, and we got out of the car, and I just went, "Whoa, what is this?" And he said to me, his name was Horst Eltner. Horst, if you're listening to this, thank you. He said to me, I'm going to go on and I'll check with you later. So I walked a little ways into the woods, and there was a stream, and I knelt down next to the stream, and I felt this presence. Like, I don't know how else to call it, but like this presence overwhelming me. And I looked down in the stream, and there was these little tiny fish. They might have been a little trout, I don't know. And they would come in, and I broke up pieces of my sandwich and dropped the crumbs in, and they were coming up and eating the crumbs. And I looked across from me. There was a bit of a field, and then a hillside went up. And standing on this hillside were these beautiful redwood trees. Oh my God. Oh, so beautiful. And as I looked at them, now you're going to think I'm being goofy. Forgive me. But those trees spoke to me. I mean, I heard them loud and clear, not audibly, but in my mind. And they said, "Where have you been? Where have you been? We've we've missed you. We've been here. And where were you?" And those were the trees of the world. Those were the sea grasses of the world. Those were the meadows and the plains. That was nature. That was the blessed soul of reality, which is nature. Nature. A tree, a flower, a bit of grass, a bunny rabbit, an eagle or a hawk soaring, being lifted up by the warm winds. Nature. I am nature. I. I am nature. You are nature. Forget about everything else. Forget about religion, forget about God, forget about all of the rest of that stuff. You are nature, and nature is all there is. It's all there is. And that's nature with a capital N. That's all there is. It's the great mind of creation. And that great mind of creation not only is creating, but it is the creation itself. The creator and the creation are the same thing. Therefore, a tree is wisdom. Therefore, a rock is wisdom. Eternity is everything around us, all right now, all going on. Nature, you nature, I'm nature. And when I was sitting beside or kneeling beside that stream and looking across at those trees, and they're saying, "Where have you been?" Boy, I could hear the resoundingness of nature saying, "What the hell are you doing? Locked up in that apartment? What do you do? Hello? Who do you think you are? You think you're a couch? You think you're a dining room chair? You don't belong there. Get your butt out here and be with us." So that's resurrection. That's resurrection. That's being born again. That's stopping the nonsense of thinking that we're something other than who we really are. We are not, we are more than that. Like we celebrate Passover at this time of year, and we celebrate Easter at this time of year. And the Christians believe that Easter is a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus from the tomb. There's a big rock in front of the tomb, giant, giant rock. Nobody can move it. I don't know. They moved it up there, but nobody can move it away. Maybe the soldiers did it. I don't know. But the rock gets rolled back, and Jesus is arisen from the dead, body and soul, gone, risen from the dead. Now that story was first written 70 years after his death. So I'm not saying it's not true. All I'm saying is that use your mind and realize that if something was written 70 years after the fact, do you think that there's much truth left in a story that's passed by mouth, hand to mouth over 70 years, that there's much truth left in it? And the church didn't even celebrate Easter until the 2nd century. So when we talk about rebirth, when we talk about the rebirth of spring, we're talking about nature, natural, what's natural. And as you know, the ground is just maybe was covered with snow. If it wasn't, it was just dirt, just dirt. That's it. Nothing there. Just dead. Then boom, up comes this little flower. Boom, up comes a bunch of flowers. And in my area, they're tulips. They're put on tulips and all these beautiful flowers, and the trees are filled with blossoms. What's going on? What's really going on? Rebirth, renewal. The world is being reborn again. You and I are invited, because we're nature, to be reborn again. Like night comes and it gets dark, and maybe we sleep, some of us. So we sleep through the night, and then morning comes and the sun comes out and it's bright again. In a year, we have winter. It's a long period of time of darkness, of introspection, of retrospection, and all of this goes on during this year. And then spring comes and everything awakens. Everything comes back to life. You and I are supposed to come back to life. Oh, I know you and I have some self-doubts. We have some self-doubts, and we have maybe some old guilts and maybe some old shames. God, I sure wish I'd have done that different. Now, sure wish I hadn't have done that, boy. But when you did that thing, whatever it was, committed that sin, whatever it was, and Mary and I have worked in prison, know that how these guys in prison identify themselves. And if you're in prison and listening to this right now, or watching this right now, you have identified yourself with the crimes that put you in prison. That's not who you are. That's not who you are. You are nature. You are God. You are the breath of springtime. You're the wind that blows through the high mountains. You're the eagle high hovering on the winds. You're the soft waves lapping up on a beach in Hawaii. You are nature. You are real. You are real. All the rest of this is just attitudinal. You believe you're bad. You believe that you're so. That's guilt. That's the only sin there is, really. That's the only sin that nature can't just cure immediately, is your attitude about being guilty or your attitude about being shameful. But you've got to be willing to be in the glory of spring, to be awakening, to being reborn, to not to go back and sort out those thoughts and sort out all of that stuff, but to just abandon it. It's not truth. Let me tell you something. What you and I believe, think about what we believe. It's not true. None of it. None of it's true. Belief is not truth. Truth is truth, and belief is an attitude about truth. But the attitude about truth is not truth, any more than a picture of a person isn't a person. The attitude about truth is a belief, and beliefs are not true. So we need to surrender to the joy of springtime. We need to go into truth because nature is truth. Jim Carrey, goofy Jim Carrey, great comedian, great actor, said, flowers don't worry about how they're going to bloom. They just open and turn to the light, and that makes them beautiful. If we just turn to the light, there's a light shining through the world. There's the light of nature, the light of the sunshine, the light of the soft rain on the leaves, and the little prisms of raindrops that hang at the bottom of the leaves and turn multiple colors when you look at them. And all of those things that are coming out alive, that's the light. And if we turn toward those, we become beautiful because we forget all that other nonsense. So let's make this spring one that changes us. That's what we want. Because coming back into our bodies after death isn't necessarily, or if you die and you come back into your body after death, that isn't rebirth. Rebirth is allowing your soul to open. See, you and I are here for a purpose. We got a purpose. You got a purpose in being here. Hello, a purpose. Your life has meaning as long as you follow that purpose. What is the purpose? You don't know? I don't know either. None of us know. That's not our business to know. Our business is to do as Joseph Campbell taught us, follow your bliss. Teilhard de Chardin said, the only evidence of God is joy. The only evidence of God is joy. Follow your bliss. What are they both saying? There's something alive around us. Right now, you are surrounded. Right now, you are surrounded by a warm, almost like a cloud. It's tangible of wisdom, of grace, and of pure love, healing you, saying to you, you're perfect exactly the way you are. Let the past go. The past doesn't belong here. Your past is is a bunch of memories, and they're all confused, and none of them are true anyway. Let it go. Be new today. Be new today. Let's not dwell on our history. There's many times in our lives when we've been so overburdened by our doubts and our fears, which incidentally are reflections of our shame and guilt, our doubts, and because if we didn't have shame and guilt, then we trust. If we trusted nature, then we wouldn't have these doubts and fears. So if we totally trusted what's going on is the way it is. It is the way it is, and it is the way. It is the way it is, and it is the way. The way it is the way. And if we could trust that, if we could get outside of our self-doubts and our self-recriminations and our self-guilts and our self-shames and all the rest of that stuff, and trust that we are beautiful, pure parts of nature, exactly the way we are and exactly the way we are not, just perfect. If we could do that, then we know that those times when we come in our lives, when we just get fed up and we just say, I can't do this anymore. Oh God, I'm just reaching my limit. I can't do this. It's just too much. Or I've lost my job, or I've lost my marriage, or I've lost a loved one, or I've just been diagnosed with this or that disease. Oh my God, oh my God. I've, uh, Life can't get any more dark. I can't get any more drained. Then listen to Louis L'Amour. Louis L'Amour, great Western writer, but not only Western writer, but just a really great writer, great author, said to us, there will come a time when you believe everything is finished. That will be the beginning. My dear friend, Jesus, the Master, Buddha, the Master, the Dalai Lama, the Master, Confucius, the master, Lao Tzu, the master, all spiritual masters, all of them leaving messages for us that hopefully would lead us to the place that they are. Because Buddha didn't come into this world and do his work in order to make people become Buddhists, but to become Buddhas. And Jesus didn't come into this world to teach people to be Christians. He wasn't a Christian. He was a Jew. He didn't come to teach people to be Christians. He came to teach people to be Christs. So none of them, no spiritual leader in history, ever told us we were bad people. None of them ever told us that we were somehow soiled. None of them. They guided us to know our divinity, so it would lead us to a life of loving. He guided us to know our divinity. And I'm not talking about the chocolate or the candy that's called divinity. That's not, that's nice. Yeah, I kind of like that too, but this is a different kind of divinity. Would lead us to a life of loving, of being love, of being gratitude, of being open to the flow of light in nature pouring into us and renewing us and bringing us back to life again in a springtime of our lives. So if we have faith, hope, and charity, as was said in the scriptures, faith is trust. If I can just trust. But I can't trust as long as I'm wrapped up inside of this little intellectual mind that sees, oh, how about this? And what about that? And what about this and this? And oh, I don't know about this. And I doubt this. But we have to get out of that because we're not our brain. We get out of that over into super consciousness, into the consciousness that we are eternally. And that consciousness has no doubts. It has trust, faith, and hope, which is imagination. It imagines, has trust and imagination, and it lives in love, which is the power of the universe. And then we know how pure and innocent we are. And we know that we didn't get born or come into life or even come to this age with batches of sins on our soul or on our spirit or in our mind. That's just our attitudes about ourselves. But beliefs are real things, and beliefs affect our physical bodies, either negatively or positive. And when we believe in some religious teachings that we are evil by nature, then our bodies react with weakness and with illness, don't they? I mean, so if I think there's something wrong with my mind, with my consciousness, like it's somehow in error and it's got a dark mark on it, then my body visits that. And Jesus came up to this guy who was laying on his pallet. He was paralyzed, completely paralyzed. And he said to him, "Take heart, my son. Your sins are forgiven." Take heart, my son. Your sins are forgiven. And the man was healed, got up and walked off. And when Jesus was questioned about that, what right do you have to forgive sins? He said, "What's the difference whether I say your sins are forgiven or get up and walk? What's the difference? What's the difference? Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven or get up and walk?" It's the same thing. When you know that you're forgiven, that means you're reborn again. But you don't wait for some preacher to pop you on the forehead or sprinkle you with holy waters. You are already in God. You're already in nature. Just let's wake up. Let's just wake up. What if you and I could heal people just by getting them to see their innocence? What if we could do that? What if that would be our purpose in life? To go through life and just say to people, you're forgiven. And to know it so strongly that when we said it, they'd get it. They go, "Whoa, man, I just got forgiven." What if, and forgiven doesn't mean I created this terrible thing, I got this awful sin. So here comes this master person and they're going to wipe this sin away. That's not what forgiven means. Forgiven means forward, forgiven. It's given forward. So when this thing that you did that seemed so awful, when you did that thing, it wasn't so awful. It was just a part of nature. It was just a part of nature. But you say, yeah, but Bob, it was really awful. Well, let me ask you something. Is your attitude changing it? Can we change it? Can we go back and make it different? The answer is no. I can't make it different. Those things that I did, some of them seemed terrible. And when I look back on them, I can see the terribleness in them. But they got healed as they happened. They got healed because that's nature. If we surrender to nature, it is the healing balm, BALM, the healing balm of the universe, of eternity. And it holds you and me in its hands. That's that soft warmness around us. It holds us in its hands and it heals us. And we're reborn again. So our pain has a purpose, doesn't it? It allows us to see beyond the confines of our comfort zones. Because see, we're ensconced inside of these little belief systems. Well, I believe this and I believe that. And do I believe that? Because I have a memory, because I experienced this and I experienced that. Your memories are all erroneous. They're all jumbled together. They all change each other. They all bang around or on you. They all become something different. So when I look back at my memories, I don't really remember that. What proof? If you grow up in a family of five, then one of the kids as adults say, I remember the day that dad did this, and the others say, dad didn't do that. Another one said, no, he did this. Another one said, no, he didn't do that either. He did this. Their memories, they don't remember what happened. They remember inside themselves what fits with the platform of them, with their attitudes, their beliefs, their recriminations, their own self, of how dad felt about. The truth isn't there. The truth is outside. We have to go outside. And then when we're in pain, when we're in doubt, when we're in fear, we push the envelope of our comfort zones, of our self-identity, and we go beyond that. James E. Faust said, a rebirth of spiritual adversity, a rebirth out of spiritual adversity causes us to become new creatures. And you and I have made a whole bunch of mistakes in our lives. But each of those mistakes was instantly healed by the great mind of the universe, of nature, the presence that brings light out of the darkness, freshness out of the stale, and newness out of the old. Nature, which is the great living mind of all, does not keep an account of what you and I do. It would be a measure of supreme arrogance for me to think that I can do something that's greater than nature, that I can do something that's greater than all of nature. I can't do it. But if I make a mistake, and it's a big mistake and it really causes some damage, if I can look at that as not as a lesson, I don't want to go there. That's the old Christian teaching. If I can look at that as an experience of my life, that makes me richer, because you have negative and positive. So I'm going to have some negatives, because in order to have positives, I have to have negatives. So I'm going to go back and forth between negatives. And this is a pretty negative thing, but I accept it. I accept it totally exactly the way it is. And the way it isn't, I totally accept it. And then it becomes energy. Otherwise, I put a lid on it and shove it down inside, and it doesn't become anything but an old festering sore. But if I accept it, it becomes energy and it becomes information, and then I grow. So how arrogant could I be to think that I can do something that's going to hurt nature? But it's springtime. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, this may be 100 years from now that you're listening to this. You may be in a different part of the world where it's not springtime. You may be in deep winter when you're hearing this, but let it be the spring of your soul. Harriet Ann Jacobs said, the beautiful spring came. And when nature resumed her loveliness, the human soul was apt to revive also. So let's arise from our slumbering ideas and our self-doubts and get into life, because life is around us. Life is love. Life is energy. Life is springtime. And now, with streams running full and clear, and robins and jays building nests, spring is in the air, and mornings of summer are slowly waking up. There's a magic in the air today. Life that was buried in winter is arising. You and I are being born again into a new life. Because today we're set free to begin again as brand new. And if you have a place to plant, then take some sunflower seeds. Go buy some sunflower seeds and go plant them. Plant them in a field. Plant them somewhere so when they come up, you'll be able to see them and know what you did. Dig them into the soil. Get the dirt under your fingernails. Margaret Atwood says in the spring, at the end of the day, you should smell of dirt. And Chang Tzu, another wonderful philosopher, said, just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it became a butterfly. So please join me in the celebration of rebirth as the realization of our innocence and our ability to start our lives from right now. I don't want to leave you with words from Charles Schulz, who wrote Peanuts, and what's inside of which he said, all I really need is love. But a little chocolate now and then doesn't hurt. Thank you for being with me. I'm going to go out this week and be reborn. And I'll see you next week. And incidentally, stop by bobtrask.com and do me a favor and leave a donation. Any amount, 35 cents, $35, $350, whatever it is that works for you so I can continue to do this work. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll see you next week.